Hello there and welcome to our Listen and Do part of the Science for Reading project. I'm Mrs. Edmondson, a science teacher at Failinge Park High School in Rochdale, and I'm also part of the Surrey team at the University of Manchester. And I'm here today to share with you one of my favourite books. Books like this are fantastic to share at home with your family and also with your teachers in school and with your friends. So as I'm reading through this book, I'm going to pause at various points, and at that time, I'm going to ask you to think about certain words and to perhaps discuss part of the story and share your ideas about certain pictures. And at the end of the video, I'm also going to share with you an opportunity to take part in an investigation similar to what the character Ada takes part in, which can be done at home or in school. It doesn't matter. It doesn't require very much equipment, but it does require an investigative brain. And also we've got some activities linked to reading and to vocabulary as well, which I'd love for you to partake in. And if you complete any of those activities and you're at home, you could share those with your schools, share those with your teachers. That would be fantastic. So let's begin. Ada Twist, Scientist, written by Andrea Beaty and illustrated by David Roberts. Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and made her big break with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day chasing each sound and sight and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?" Why does it tick? And why does it tock? And why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why and then what, how and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out." Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Even when Miss Greer found her hands were quite full, when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. I just want to focus for a second on one of the words from this page, and I'd like us to explore it in a bit more detail. So she says, or when we read, even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. That word, havoc, I want us to think about that word and have a go at saying it out loud. So try saying the word in a whisper. So try whispering the word havoc. Can you say it louder? Can you say it in a shy way or an angry way? Okay, that word havoc. Have a think about what you think it might mean. Maybe there are some clues in the picture. I'm going to give you the definition now, and that word havoc means a great disorder or confusion. And words that are similar to havoc, which you might have heard before, are words such as damage and destruction and devastation. And words that mean the opposite, so these are our antonyms, include being ordered or in order and in harmony and calm. I now want us to think about how this picture, now that we know what the word means, how this picture is showing havoc. You're going to explore this word in one of our reading and vocabulary activities later. But if you'd like to pause this video now and consider and write down your ideas, that would be great. Okay, hopefully you've paused the story, so let's return. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. Zowie, said Ada, which got her to thinking, what is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell, and does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start, where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true. The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. And I just want to pause just there and get us to think about this word hypothesis. So again, can you try saying the word hypothesis? Maybe whisper it or shout out the word hypothesis, or try saying it in a different way. So saying in a timid or a shy way or an angry way. If you've heard that word before, you might already have an idea what you think it means. Have a quick think now before I give you the definition. So a hypothesis is an idea which could be a possible explanation for something, but hasn't yet been tested. Words which are similar, so synonyms, include theory or guess or an assumption. So you might have heard of those words before. There are also some antonyms, so some opposite words to the word hypothesis. So fact and proof and certainty are all antonyms. And Ada's come up with a hypothesis about a terrible smell in this story. She would very quickly realise, though, that she would have to come up with another hypothesis, which she called hypothesis 2. So what hypothesis do you think she might come up with? There might be some ideas in the pictures around. Once you've had a think, pause the video and share these ideas. We're going to come back to explore that word again at the end of the story when you come to do some reading activities. But I'd like you to just pause the video now. Okay, hopefully you've explored that word and written down or spoken about and discussed your thoughts. So let's now continue with the story. Then Zowie, this stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2, it's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!" Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now. By the time we count 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said no. What? Ada queried. Her father said, go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she thought about science and Stu and the cat and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking what was the source of that terrible stinking, Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question and then she asked two, and each of those led her to 3 questions more, and some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk, and they looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. And again, I just want to pause at this point and pick up on a word from this section of the book. And the book talks about Ada coming up with this idea, this fantastic idea of a research wall, and her parents coming in to gawk. And I just wondered if you knew what that word meant and if you could say it out loud. So try saying that word. How does it feel? How does it sound? So maybe try whispering the word or shouting the word, or like we've done before, try saying it in different ways. Do you think you can guess from the pictures what that word might mean before I give you the definition? So to gawk is to stare in a way that is unthinking and sometimes can be quite rude. So it's a stare in an unthinking and confused way. Similar words, so synonyms, include gaze or to stare and to glare. And antonyms, which are opposite words, include to ignore or to look away or to avert. So Ada's parents came in to gawk at this amazing research wall, and they're struggling to make sense of the research that Ada has done. But scientists and engineers and deep thinkers actually tend to use research and write down their ideas in notebooks like this research wall. And I'd like you to pause the video in a second to think about whether you think it's a good idea. Is it a good idea to write ideas down that maybe previous people have come up with, maybe scientists, or your thoughts as you do a science investigation? And why do you think that? So pause the video now to discuss or write down your ideas. Okay, we will explore that word again at the end of the reading in our reading and vocabulary activities. But let's return to the story for now. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, "We'll figure it out." And that's what they did, because that's what you do. When your kid has a passion and heart that is true, they remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asks lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. And as for the smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question, and someday, who knows? I hope you enjoyed that reading. I absolutely love the story. And now what I would like you to do, thinking about how Ada investigated, I'd like you to have a go at the investigation that the PSTT have provided. So they have provided a fantastic guide sheet for you to follow. And the investigation involves different substances that you might have at home or in school. And it will allow you to think just like Ada Twist and come up with lots of different questions. So if you can carry out the investigation, we'd love to know how you got on. So be sure to share any photos or findings with your teachers. You can then pass those on. Once your investigation is complete, we'd like you to try some of the word activities. Again, we hope that you enjoy taking part in the activities, and we hope you enjoy exploring the words and getting to know a little bit more about how scientists like Ada Twist and her character carry out science. And I hope to hear lots of stories and to receive some of the activities and some of the photos and maybe some of the work that you do at home and in school. So have fun, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.